What's going on, everybody? My name is Austin. Welcome back to the channel where we talk about everything comic book related, and we have an absolute banger of an issue today. I know this came out a couple days ago. I know I'm a little bit behind on it, but I love this so much that I just had to make a video about it. The final showdown between Absolute Batman and Absolute Bane. Let's get right into it. The issue begins with Alfred talking to Bruce and says, "It's the fight of your life, kid. You ready?" And Eddie says, I'm ready. Alfred continues and says, "There's only enough venom in you for 2 infusions. Hey, you listening?" And Bruce says, "I'm listening." And Alfred says, "Bruce, stay with me. We use 1 infusion now as a test to make sure your system can handle it, and we use the other in the ring against Bane." We see a flashback on the left of Bruce and his friends getting together. We see Wayland saying, "I should have left you in that place." Catwoman walking away saying, "Take care of yourself, Wayne." Harvey Dent saying, "I only hate you half the time." And Eddie saying, "Bruce is so broke he can't even pay attention." Alfred continues and says, "Kid, if your system takes to it, we're good. If not, I'll make it quick. Now, what do you want to do?" And Bruce says, "Let's go to freaking war." We then go to the news, where a news anchor says, "If the Batman is right and there is some underground..." The reporter speaking gets cut off by the news anchor and says, "Vicky, I have to cut you off. Mayor Hill is coming to the podium." And Mayor Hill has a message for the entire city, and he says, "Fellow Gothamites, I am here tonight to assure you that despite what the terrorist Batman claims, there are no monsters hidden away beneath our streets. In fact, the only monster in this city is him, and whatever dangerous theatrics he was planning tonight at Veterans Arena will not be happening. Still, we insist that everyone honor the 11 p.m. curfew put in place after the Black Mask attack, and remain home and safe from the Batman's lawless violence. Thank you, and God bless Gotham." We see an EMT with a specific name, Dick Grayson, say, "Freaking Batman again." The news anchor continues and says, "There you have it," and the mayor's office has released a statement reiterating that there is absolutely no fight between Batman and anyone else happening tonight. However, Mayor Hill looks towards Harvey Bullock and says, "So the fight happens at midnight," and Harvey's like, "But..." And the mayor interrupts, "Bullock, it came straight from above. No one gets within 10 blocks of that place except for Batman and him." And Harvey Bullock says, "Yes, sir." We then go to Selena Kyle, where she is sitting down staring at Bruce's Batman mask. And she says, "I don't know if you can hear me, but if you can, I hope you have a damn good plan." We then catch up with Bane and Dr. Arkham, and she says, "You should be aware, according to our data, Subject 27 likely still has at least 1 infusion left in his system," and Bane says, "I'm counting on it. If his system tolerates the venom, he can be your new project from now on." And Dr. Arkham says, "Fair enough, because with the recent enhancement, there's no comparison. But Bane, after this fight, your system will need a long rest." And Bane says, "The heart's only true nurse. All I want is rest, Dr. Arkham. One more fight, one more, and I'll have it." We then go to a flashback with Waylon Jones preparing for his fight as the announcer says, "And here we go, folks. An unprecedented epic 10-round battle between challenger Waylon Jones and champ Bibbo Babowski." As Bane also arrives at the arena prepared for this fight, and he says, "Well, here I am." There's no response, and then Bane yells, "I said, here I am. Where's your champion?" We see Harley Quinn in the stands say, "Light 'em up, guys." And all of the stadium lights come to life, and Bruce says, "Hello." Alfred on the comm says, "All right, kid, here we go. Remember the plan. You wear him down, keep at him until he uses up all his venom, and then, when he's got nothing left, you use yours and you..." Bruce cuts him off and says, "Stop talking. It's time. Harley?" And Harley says, "Yep. Make 'em famous. Smile, boys." As tens of drones arrive at the stadium to capture it all on video. And Bane says, "Ah, the Great Republic watches. I hope you've learned some new techniques so we can give them an actual spectacle. Let's see." As we go back to the flashback to Wayland's fight, where Falcone watches from the top, and he says, "It's all set. In the 7th, Jones loses big, and we win big." And the announcer says, "And here they go. A true David and Goliath match. The shocking thing is that Jones seems to have no one in his corner. No trainer, nobody. He's a man alone." Bane says, "So, your move." And Batman puts his foot on a trigger that causes an explosion, and Bane turns around. Behind him, the structure of an entire building blows up, and it begins to teeter and fall over on top of Bane. But before it lands, Bruce says, "I call this move Welcome to Gotham." And Bane, unintimidated, lets out a little laugh before the building lands directly on top of him. And we see Wayland come out swinging, taking the first punch in his fight. Alfred starts to head over with the Batmobile, and Bane emerges from the rubble and says, "You think I don't see what you're doing, little one?" Alfred says, "Locked in, kid," and Bruce says, "Fire." Two spears emerge from the Batmobile and lodge themselves into Bane's back. And to Alfred's credit, this does seem to cause Bane a good amount of pain. We see the flashback of Waylon's fight, and the announcer says 3 rounds into this heavyweight bout, and Jones is still bringing it to the champ. Bane uses more venom, and Alfred says, "As I come around to hit Bane again, I make the mistake of glancing at him. He's already healed, but how? And his size, something is wrong. His speed, too. I'm tumbling through the air before I know it." Bane rips the cables that were previously attached to him and sends the Batmobile flying through the air and yells, "Come on, is that all you've got?" Alfred continues and says, "But what Batman lacks in power and speed, he makes up for in brutality." Bruce uses his cape and stabs Bane directly in the eye, and Alfred says he's a genius at violence, and I've known some prodigies in my day, but he moves like a man ecstatic, a man born to do this very thing. He doesn't hesitate, not even when Bane regrows his eyeball. The kid revels in it, the bringing forth of blood from those who deserve it, the blood of people who never see their own in the open air. People so powerful they've almost forgotten what courses through their own veins, until Batman shows them in red spraying arcs. But then Bane grabs him, plucks him out of thin air like a bug, and Alfred can only watch from afar. Grabbing Bruce by the cape, he says, "You know, we're not that different, you and me," and slams him down into the ground. Truth is, I look at you and I see myself, young, stupid, as he once more slams Bruce into the ground. But playtime is over, so go on now. Use it. It's your only move. And Bruce says, "Not quite now." And Harley says, "Release the green machine." 4 members of the Red Hood gang open up the sewer and unleash Killer Croc. Alfred continues and says, "The thing that was once Waylon Jones tears at him, ripping off chunks of flesh, swallowing them whole." Bane infuses more venom. I can hear the sickening squelch of muscle fibers multiplying, thickening. He grows bigger, impossibly big, and the wounds close. But God bless him, the kid keeps on. Bane yells out in pain and says, "You little," and Bruce says, "What? No fancy quote?" Bane swats Bruce flying all the way into the stands and says, "Towards gnats and fleas we should show no pity." We go back to Waylon's fight and the announcer says, "Champ comes roaring back. This could be trouble for Jones." As we move into the latter half, who expected this to be a classic? Lord, that was a brutal hook by Bibbo. Bruce and Selina standing behind Falcone as Falcone says, "Hit him again. So freaking hard they can feel it up in the nosebleeds." Harley comes to Bruce's aid in the stands, and she says, "So this is probably when someone gives you a big inspirational speech, but I'm just going to tell you to get the hell up. Cool?" And Bruce says, "Cool. Now get back in there and save that alligator." And Bruce corrects her and says, "Crocodile." Alfred on the comm says, "Kid, he just keeps infusing more venom. I don't know what his max level is. Hell, I don't know that he has one anymore." Bane is attempting to rip Waylon apart by the mouth as Bruce jumps down from the stadium and says, "What's your point, Pennyworth?" And Alfred says, "My point is, I don't think you can get him to reach some max level at all. If you use the venom now, maybe you can at least get out of." And Bruce interrupts and says, "No, we stick to the plan." Harley says, "Tell me we're still alive." And someone replies, "Oh, we're still alive, boss." Bruce dives towards Waylon and yells his name, and we see Bruce heading towards the cage that Waylon fights in, with the announcer saying halfway into the 7th and Jones is barely hanging on. Bane is about to rip Waylon in half as Bruce falls directly on his back, and we see Bruce reach the cage to give Waylon some coaching assistance, and Bruce cuts Bane right on the back with his axe, forcing him to drop Waylon. Waylon walks up to Bruce, and Bruce says, "It's all right, Way. Go, and thank you. I got this." Bruce walks onto Bane's back and says, "I severed your spine at the thoracic, which means that you can't use your legs anymore, but that's okay. You still have your arms." Bruce takes his axe and swings it into Bane's arms and says, "Oh man, now you can't use your arms either, but hey, you can still bite me. And no, we're not that different, Bane. We both lost fathers. The difference is, I didn't break my father's back or his heart." But the venom in Bane's body continues to surge, and all of a sudden, Bane stands up and he's managed to heal himself from paralyzation. Dr. Arkham is watching all of this unfold, and she says, "Bane, it's incredible. Your system, it's surpassing any limit we thought possible." Bane begins to stand up and he says, "You think you can win?" As he punches Bruce, sending him flying across the arena. "You think that you're better than me? You're nothing," as he pounds Bruce into the ground. In the flashback, we see Bibbo Lebowski holding Waylon in a headlock, and the announcer says this could be it for Jones. Bibbo has a deathlock on that rear naked choke. And Bane yells, "Nothing!" And we can see Bane's true size here. He is quite literally a giant at this point. Bane continues and says, "Me, I've given everything. Also, my people and home could be safe, because this is war. It's all war. But I'm done. It's your turn now. your turn as he uses his fist to punch Bruce again. Dr. Arkham says, I can't believe what I'm seeing, Bane. Your cells, they've moved beyond self-repairing and become almost embryonic, undifferentiated. If 27 is anything like you, you're a miracle. Bane yells at Bruce and says, now use it, telling him to use his venom. Bruce outside the cage says, come on, Wade, don't give up. Jones searching for some last reserve of strength. Alfred comes over the comms and says, do it, kid, use the venom. It's your only chance of making out of there alive, please. Bane says, go on, use it. And Bruce says, all right, you win. You want me to use the venom? I'll use it. Catwoman, take the shot. And Catwoman from the top of the stadium says, I got you, baby. Waylon in his fight goes airborne and flips Bibbo Babowski using the champ's own weight against him, causing him to land directly on his neck. Catwoman fires 4 different rounds loaded with venom into Bane's back, directly where the venom infusion takes place. Immediately, Bane screams and he says, wait, stop! And Bruce says no, throwing his axe directly into Bane, causing him to literally erupt like a venom volcano. Alfred says, I can't help but laugh then. Laugh like I haven't in years, because this kid, bloody hell. But how? We go back to 2 days ago where Eddie is performing surgery on Bruce's back and he says, so how much of this stuff am I taking out of you again? And Bruce says, all of it, Eddie, every drop. I'll beat him my way. And Selina says, whatever happens, I'm proud of you, Wayne. Now go kick this guy's ass. We see the conclusion of Waylon's fight in the background and the announcer says, unbelievable, Jones has done it. Bruce picks Waylon up and he says, did that really just happen? And Bruce says, I freaking hope so because I bet it all on you, brother. I'm serious, even Falcone's portion. Falcone from the nosebleed says, I want Wayne dead, you hear me? Alfred continues and says, now in hindsight I understand how he won. Batman, I see it. The thing Bane didn't. The thing all kings and generals and masters of war always fail to take into account, that for some soldiers, winning isn't the point. Because theirs is a fight that's bigger than any war. It's old as time and immediate as a baby's scream, and there's no end to it ever, not really. It's about doing what's right, no more, no less. So for someone like Batman, he's not fighting to win. He's fighting to fight. The fight is the point. For home, for the people he loves. And I'm grateful to Batman for the reminder. As Batman dumps Bane's remains into the nearby sea. Harvey Dent and Oswald Cobblepot watch on a TV and Harvey says, you see that, Oz? Bruce kicked him right into the bay. Later, we see Selina Kyle on a flight and the attendant says, did you have a nice visit to Gotham, Mrs. Kyle? And she says, that's one way to describe it. The attendant asks, can I take that for you? And she says, no, I'll keep this one with me, thanks. And she opens it up, revealing a vial of venom that she kept for herself. We go back to Coda with Dr. Arkham and she says, well, good morning. I must say, Bane, you're looking wonderful today. And we see all that is actually truly left of Bane. He is just eyeballs and a brain. She says, your cells, they're just such a marvel, but I'm here because someone else wants to talk to you. Here, there's a phone call for Bane and the other person on that phone is Joker. And he says, Bane, I just wanted to put your mind at ease. This whole incident, I see it as a minor setback. Now look, I know you were here hoping to retire, cede the role, but my sincere belief is that wouldn't make you happy. Not really. Lying around Santa Prisco with the family? Come on, you love it too much, this war. So, as your friend, I'd like to help. What was the name of your father's rebel group again? Silos Libres? What a beautiful name. Free skies. See, that's how I want you to feel from now on, so you can focus on what you really love. Unburdened, liberated. As we see a plane fly over the island of Santa Prisca and drop bombs on it. And Bane, only existing as basically just a pair of eyeballs, is forced to watch this happen. Bringing us to the end of the issue. Oh my goodness, guys. What a phenomenal issue of Batman. Not only the fight between Bane and Batman themselves, but this conclusion is one hell of a way to introduce Absolute Joker. I know we've already seen teases of him in Absolute Evil and from Bane's origin story, but this really sets the bar for how evil this version of Joker is actually going to be. I absolutely cannot wait for this next arc of Absolute Batman to begin. Let me know what you guys think of Absolute Bane. Did he live up to the hype? Did this issue live up to the hype for you guys? And I will see you guys in the next video.